The little alien girl's plea. The rain was soft, falling like a whisper on the metal roofs of the alien market. People rushed past, humans, aliens, traders, and workers. No one noticed the small girl standing alone near the gate. She was no more than 7. Her skin was pale blue, her eyes large and glowing, and her clothes were old and patched. She didn't move. She just stood there, clutching a broken toy in one hand and watching every human that walked by. Then she saw him, a human man, tall with tired eyes, carrying a heavy bag over his shoulder. His boots were muddy, and he looked like someone who had seen too many wars in too little peace. The little alien girl stepped in front of him. "Please, human, will you marry my mother?" He stopped. For a moment he thought he heard wrong. "What did you say?" She looked up at him, her voice shaking. "My mother cries herself to sleep every night since my father left. She needs someone kind, someone like you." The man blinked. He looked around, thinking maybe it was a joke, but no one laughed. People passed them by as if nothing had happened. "I'm just a mechanic," he said, trying to smile. "Why would your mother want me?" "Because I saw you help the old vendor last week," she said softly. "You fixed his cart and didn't ask for money. My mother says only a good man would do that." He didn't know what to say. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't mean to bother you." She turned to leave, her shoulders small and heavy. "Wait," he said gently. "Where is your mother now?" The little girl looked up, hope in her eyes. "Come, I'll take you." The walk through the lower market was quiet. Broken lights flickered overhead. The girl led him past empty stalls, junk piles, and small alien homes built from scrap metal. "She doesn't know I'm bringing you," the girl said suddenly. "She doesn't like asking for help, but I see her cry when she thinks I'm asleep." "What's your name?" he asked. "Lyra," she said. "My mother's name is Soraya." He remembered that name. Soraya was once a soldier, a strong alien warrior who fought during the human Zethar rebellion. But after the war ended, many aliens like her were forgotten. Lyra stopped at a small shelter made from old cargo crates and plastic sheets. Inside, the air smelled of metal and old dust. A small fire burned in the center. And there she was. Soraya. She sat by the fire, repairing a cracked water pipe with her sharp alien claws. Her hair was tied back and her face looked strong but tired. She didn't see them at first. "Mother," Lyra called. "I brought someone." Soraya turned, her eyes narrow. When she saw the human, she stood up quickly. "Lyra, what are you doing? Who is this?" Lyra held the human's hand. "He's a good man. I asked him to marry you." Soraya's face turned pale. "Lyra," the human raised his hands. "I'm sorry. I didn't know she'd say that. I was just walking by." Soraya sighed. Her eyes softened a little. "She's always hoping, always dreaming of a family again." There was silence for a moment. Only the fire cracked. "You were a soldier, weren't you?" he asked. Soraya nodded. "Yes. A long time ago." "And now?" She looked away. "Now I fix pipes. I fix things that are already broken, just like me." He stepped closer. "You're not broken. Just tired. That's different." She looked up, surprised by the kindness in his voice. For a moment, her guard dropped. "Why would you care?" she asked. He shrugged. "Because your daughter stood in the rain just to ask a stranger to help you. That means something." Soraya looked at Lyra. The little girl was smiling, small but hopeful. "I can't offer much," Soraya said quietly. "No money, no name, no home worth sharing." He smiled. "I didn't come for any of that." That night, he didn't stay, but he left behind something stronger than food or shelter. He left hope, and hope is the first thing that grows when life feels empty. As the human walked away, Lyra hugged her mother tightly. "See? I told you someone would care." Soraya didn't answer, but a single tear rolled down her cheek, not from sadness, but from something she hadn't felt in a long time. A reason to believe again. The abandoned mother, the next morning, the human, man returned. He wasn't sure why. Maybe it was the little girl's eyes. Maybe it was the way Soraya looked at the fire, like she was watching memories burn. Or maybe it was because, for the first time in a long while, he felt needed. He knocked softly on the scrap metal door. Soraya opened it, surprised. "You came back? I thought I'd check your water line," he said. It looked weak near the main seal. Soraya folded her arms. "You don't need to fix anything. We're fine." But her voice was hollow. Behind her, Lyra popped her head out from behind a curtain, smiling. "Told you he'd come back." Soraya sighed and moved aside. "Come in, then." The shelter was quiet. Just the low crackle of the fire and the hiss of leaking pipes. The human crouched near the wall, opened his toolkit, and started working without a word. Soraya sat across from him, watching. "You're good with your hands," she said after a while. "I used to repair cargo ships," he replied, "back when humans were still welcome in alien ports." She lowered her eyes. "Things have changed." "Yes," he said, "but people still need clean water." Lyra came running with 2 old cups and a dusty tin. "I made something. It's not human tea, but it's warm." He took the cup and smiled. "Thank you, Lyra." Soraya watched as her daughter beamed. That smile. It had become rare these days. After the repair, he stood to leave. But Soraya finally asked, "Why are you really here?" He paused. "I saw the way your daughter looked at me, like I could fix more than just broken pipes." Soraya said nothing for a moment. Then she walked over to a small crate and pulled out a torn photo, faded and creased. A strong alien male stood in the photo. Her mate, Lyra's father. He was brave, strong, but the war broke him. He said he was going to find work in the outer colonies. He never came back. The human looked at the picture, then at her. "You waited for him?" "Every night." "For 3 years," she whispered, "until I stopped believing." Lyra sat close to her mother and held her hand. She cried at night when she thought I was sleeping. Soraya wiped a tear from her cheek. "I didn't want to be weak. I was a soldier once, but now I can't even afford bread some days." The human gently placed a few ration packs on the table. "This should help for a while." "No," Soraya said quickly. "I don't want charity." "It's not charity," he said. "It's thanks for raising a brave daughter." She looked into his eyes. There was no pity in them, only calm and warmth. "No one's looked at me like that in years," she said softly. "Then they were fools," he replied. Later that night, after he left, Soraya sat beside Lyra. "You shouldn't have asked him to marry me," she said gently. "But you smiled today," Lyra said. "You never smile." Soraya held her daughter close. "I'm scared," she whispered. "What if he leaves too?" Lyra whispered back. "What if he doesn't?" And in that moment, Soraya realized something. She wasn't afraid of being alone. She was afraid of hoping again. But maybe, just maybe, hope had returned in the form of a tired human with kind hands, a meal, a memory, a moment. The third time he came, he didn't come to fix anything. He came with food, a small sack of fresh root bread, a thermal, box with hot stew, and a folded blanket under his arm. Soraya opened the door and frowned. "You again?" He smiled. "This time I brought something warm, for all of you. We didn't ask you for anything." "I know," he said calmly, "but someone should have offered it long ago." From behind her, Lyra gasped. "That smells amazing. Can we eat it, Mother? Please?" Soraya hesitated. Pride made her heart hard, but hunger softened it fast. She stepped aside. "Come in." They sat on the old floor mat. Lyra ate fast, giggling with every bite. The stew was rich with herbs, simple, human-style cooking, but made with care. She hadn't tasted anything so warm since her father left. The human handed a bowl to Soraya. She didn't take it at first. You were a soldier, he said softly. I heard stories of Soraya the Stormfist. You don't need to prove strength anymore. She looked at him. Her sharp eyes softened, and she finally took the bowl. The first spoonful made her freeze. Not because it was hot, but because it reminded her of something she thought she forgot. She closed her eyes. What is it? The human asked. She spoke slowly. He used to cook stew like this, before he left. There was silence for a moment. Lyra looked at her mom, then at the man. Did you know that? He shook his head. Just made what I had. After dinner, Soraya cleaned the bowls, while Lyra curled up under the new blanket. You don't have to stay, Soraya said. I'm sure you have your own life. I do, he replied. But this place feels real. I haven't had real in a long time. You humans are strange, she muttered, almost smiling. Most of your kind won't even look at us now. Not most, he said simply. She glanced at him. Then why are you alone? He didn't answer right away. Then he said, War took things from me too. People, peace, but mostly purpose. Soraya sat beside him. My mate never said goodbye, she said. He just vanished. Everyone thinks he died. Maybe it's better than knowing he walked away. Maybe, the human said. But I think staying takes more courage than leaving. Suddenly a sharp sound echoed outside. Lyra jolted awake. Soraya grabbed a tool handle, her old warrior instincts kicking in. It's just wind, the man said. No, Soraya whispered. That was a footstep. They stood silently. Another sound. Soft, dragging. Someone was near their shelter. Stay. Behind me, she told Lyra, stepping toward the door. The human followed quietly. He reached into his bag and pulled out a shock rod. Outside, 2 alien thugs were trying to pry open an old crate near the wall. Food thieves, Soraya whispered. They've been hunting weak homes. She stepped forward. Back off, she growled. The thugs turned and laughed. Look, it's the fallen warrior. What will you do, cry us to death? But Soraya didn't speak again. She moved. In 2 steps she struck. Fast, sharp, precise. The first thug dropped. The second raised a weapon, only for the human to hit him square with the shock rod. They both collapsed in the mud. Soraya stood still, breathing hard. Her hands were shaking, not from fear but from old pain. The human looked at her. You're still a storm? She gave a tired smile. Storms break things I only want to protect. And you did, he said. Back inside, Lyra hugged her mother tight. You scared them away, she whispered. Soraya sat down, holding her daughter close. The human placed the blanket over both of them. Rest now. I'll keep watch tonight, Soraya looked at him. For once she didn't argue. She just nodded. And as the fire dimmed, something new filled the small shelter. Not fear, not silence, but peace. The mother's hidden strength. For the first time in months, Soraya slept through the night. The human didn't leave. He sat near the fire, watching the door with calm eyes and a tool rod in his lap. The wind howled outside, but nothing dared come close again. When morning came, Lyra woke up first. She tiptoed over and gently pulled at his sleeve. You didn't sleep? He smiled. Someone had to keep the wolves away. There are no wolves, she said with a giggle. Not the kind with fur, he replied, tapping her nose. Soraya stirred. Her eyes opened slowly. She saw her daughter smiling, and the human, still there, still here. She stood and stretched. You could have left. I could have, he said, but I didn't want to. She walked to the fire and poured warm water into a cup. You're strange, human. You keep saying that. Because it's true. They both chuckled, a small moment, but it made the cold air feel lighter. Later, they stepped outside. The small market was beginning to wake up. Vendors opened stalls. Broken bots buzzed around, picking up scraps. Soraya and the human walked side by side. Lyra followed, skipping over puddles. "People are staring," Soraya said, keeping her head low. "Let them," he said. "They've forgotten what respect looks like," a trader whispered to another. "Is that the broken warrior?" "Who's the human with her?" "A buyer." Soraya heard it all, but said nothing, until one voice came too close. "She's nothing now, not without a male to protect her." Soraya turned fast. She walked up to the alien who said it, a tall, thick-scaled merchant with cruel eyes. "I protected this town when it burned," she said, her voice sharp. "I lost friends, blood, and a future, so you could open your stall. In peace," the alien snorted. "Now you're just a used name with an empty den." The human stepped forward, but Soraya raised a hand to stop him. Then she moved. In one swift motion, she grabbed the merchant's wrist and bent it backward, just enough to send pain, not to break. "You will not speak of me again," she said, coldly. The merchant hissed and nodded quickly. Soraya released him and turned away. They walked back in silence. At the shelter, the human finally spoke. "You didn't need me." "I never said I did," she answered. "But I saw something today." "What?" "You're still strong," he said. "But you've hidden that strength behind sadness for too long." She looked at her hands. "I'm tired of fighting." "You didn't fight today," he said. "You reminded them who you are." She looked at him carefully. "And who am I?" "You're Soraya," he said. "The storm that never truly faded." That night, Lyra drew on the floor with a piece of chalk. A family, her mother, and the human. She held up the drawing. "Do you like it?" Soraya blinked. "You drew him? He protects us, so he belongs here." The human smiled softly, but Soraya's eyes filled with emotion. "I don't know if I can give her what she dreams of," she whispered. "You already are," the human said. "You just don't see it yet." Outside, the wind had calmed. The stars were out. Soraya stood, alone, looking up at the sky. Somewhere out there, her mate was either dead or had chosen not to come back. She no longer cared which. Because now, inside that small shelter, a different kind of strength was growing, one built not from war or weapons, but from kindness. And for the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to feel it. The town starts to talk. The small town didn't need a reason to gossip, but now it had one. A human man living among aliens, staying in the old warrior's broken shelter. Sharing meals, fixing walls, laughing with her daughter, whispers began like wind through dry grass. "Did you see him? She lets him stay overnight. She was proud once. Now she accepts leftovers. Maybe she sold herself. Maybe the child isn't even..." Soraya heard it all. At first, she ignored it. She walked straight, chin up, like she used to when leading troops. But inside, it hurt. One day she stepped into the market to get cloth for Lyra's shoes. She felt eyes on her. Not just watching, judging. An old friend, once her fellow warrior, crossed the path. Soraya smiled, but the friend didn't smile back. She turned her face away and walked faster. That cut deeper than any blade. Back at the shelter, she said nothing. She cooked, cleaned, checked the water line, but her face was quiet, like a sky before a storm. The human noticed. "You're not talking," he said, placing a tool on the table. "I don't have much to say today." He didn't push. Instead, he helped Lyra build a small wooden bird from scrap. Lyra smiled and clapped as the bird flapped its wings. "Mother, look, it flies." Soraya turned and watched, but didn't smile. That night, after Lyra fell asleep, Soraya sat near the fire, staring at the flame. "They're talking," she finally said. The human looked at her. "About me?" "About us," she whispered. "They think you want something." "I don't." "I know, but they don't." He leaned back. Why do you care what they say? Because I was once their hero. Now I'm their warning. The human said nothing. She looked at him. You should leave before their words turn into trouble. He didn't move. What if I don't care what they say? But I do, she said softly. Because if they hurt you or Lyra, I couldn't forgive myself. In the morning, he packed his tools. Soraya stood at the doorway, arms folded, face unreadable. Lyra ran up, eyes wide. Where are you going? He knelt down. Just giving your mother some space. Did we do something wrong? He shook his head. Not at all. Tears filled her eyes. But I drew you in our family picture. The human smiled and wiped her tears. Sometimes grown-ups are just scared, Lyra. Even strong ones. He looked up at Soraya, who still said nothing. Then he walked away. That evening, the shelter felt colder. The fire didn't warm as much. The silence was loud. Lyra didn't eat. She just stared at the door. Soraya watched her, guilt spreading inside like poison. You really miss him? She asked. Lyra nodded. He made you laugh, Mother. You never laugh. Soraya sat beside her, heart heavy. I'm sorry. Lyra looked up. Why are you afraid? Soraya closed her eyes. Because I once loved someone who left. I thought love made me weak. Lyra held her hand tightly. Then let me be strong for you. Soraya opened her eyes, and for the first time, truly listened to her daughter. That night, she didn't sleep. She stood outside the shelter looking at the stars. The wind blew gently, carrying old whispers from the town. But this time, she didn't care. She had pushed away someone who brought peace. Someone who didn't try to break her but help her heal, and maybe that was worth fighting for. The return of the father. It was a quiet morning. Soraya had just stepped outside to fetch water. Lyra sat inside, drawing again. This time, not just a family but a home surrounded by flowers, stars, and sunlight. Then came the knock, a single heavy knock on the metal door. Lyra looked up. She blinked, then walked slowly to the door. She opened it halfway and froze. There stood a tall alien male, dirty, scarred, and silent. His eyes were sunken, his armor worn, but Lyra recognized the face. Papa, she whispered. He didn't speak, just nodded slowly, stepping forward. Soraya returned to find him standing in their shelter. She dropped the water can. Her heart stopped. You, she said, breath catching in her throat. You're alive? He nodded. Barely. You left, she said. Her voice was cold, but her hands trembled. You promised to come back. I had no choice, he muttered. Work was scarce. I got trapped in a mining war zone, then I was injured. Soraya narrowed her eyes. For 3 years? He looked away. I sent messages. I waited. Her voice cracked. You didn't even try. I was ashamed, he said. Lyra ran to him, hugging his leg. I missed you so much. He looked down, unsure how to react. Soraya watched them. Her heart ached, but not for him. It ached for her daughter, who still hoped too much. Too fast. Then the silence broke again. A second knock on the door. The human. He carried fresh food and wire coils. He had decided to return, one last time, unsure if he would be welcomed. The door opened and he saw the alien father. They locked eyes. The air tightened. You. The father growled. Who is he? He's the one who stayed, Soraya replied quietly. The father looked at her sharply. You let a human into our home? He protected us, she said. He fixed what you left broken. You replaced me with a stranger? No, she said, stepping closer. You replaced yourself with silence. Tension rose like fire between them. Lyra stood between the two men. Please don't fight, please. The father turned to her. Go inside, child. But she didn't move. She stood her ground. No, Soraya stepped beside her daughter. This is not about blood anymore, she said. It's about who stayed when we were cold and starving, who taught her to smile again. The father's jaw clenched. His pride burned. So what now? You choose a human over your own kind? I choose the one who didn't leave, Soraya whispered. The human said nothing. He didn't ask for her, didn't claim her. He just waited. Because this wasn't his battle. It was hers. The father stood silent for a long moment. Then he looked at Lyra. I am still your father. She nodded. But you're not the same, and neither is she. He turned and walked out the door. No more words. No more fight. Just footsteps fading into the dust. Again. That night, Soraya sat by the fire. Lyra was asleep, her arms wrapped around her little chalk drawing. The human sat across, quiet. I'm sorry you had to see that, she said. He looked at her gently. I'm not. Why? Because now I know what it took to survive. She met his eyes. For once there was no wall between them. You're not just strong, he said. You're brave. Soraya gave a soft smile. And you are still strange. They both laughed, quiet but real. Outside, the night wind blew again, but inside, there was peace. And this time, no one left. A new family begins. The next day, the town was buzzing, not with news of trade or supplies, but with whispers of what had happened at Soraya's shelter. The father came back. He tried to claim them, but she chose the human. Some spoke with shock, others with disgust, but a few with quiet respect. Lyra didn't care about any of it. She was sitting outside their shelter holding her favorite drawing, the one with 3 figures. Her mother, and the human. A family. Her eyes sparkled when she saw him return again. This time not as a helper, but just himself. You came back again, she shouted, running to him. I told you, he smiled, lifting her up. You're hard to stay away from. Inside, Soraya watched from the doorway. Her heart, once guarded like stone, now opened with quiet warmth. Later that afternoon, a strange visitor arrived, a government worker from the local union council, half human, half alien, wearing the badge. Of social harmony law, I'm here, she said formally. Because of a legal matter. Soraya stepped forward, alert. What matter? Your daughter, the worker replied. She has filed a formal declaration. The human blinked. What kind of declaration? The worker showed a simple data pad. On it, a child's writing. I wish the human to be part of our family, it read. He makes us feel safe. He makes my mom smile again. Signed, Lyra, daughter of Soraya. Soraya's mouth parted slightly in shock. She submitted that? The worker nodded. And by local blended law, such a claim can be heard in front of the council, if both guardians agree. The human stepped forward. And if we say yes? The worker smiled faintly. Then the child gets what she asked for, a family under protection of both worlds. That evening, a small circle gathered near the old fire pit in front of the shelter. No grand building, no crown, just warmth, flickering light, and a little girl holding both her mother's and the human's hand. The worker read a simple sentence. Do you, Soraya of the fallen warriors, accept this man as kin under the law of your daughter's heart? Soraya looked at the human. He looked at her. No words passed between them, but everything was said in silence. I do, she said quietly. The worker nodded. Then by child's right and shared consent, this family is now whole. Lyra jumped in the air, laughing. I knew it. I knew it. That night they shared food, laughter, and stories. Soraya leaned her head on the human's shoulder as Lyra fell asleep, curled in a blanket between them. I never imagined this, Soraya whispered. Not after everything I lost. The human looked at her. Sometimes we don't find what we're looking for. Sometimes we're found. She closed her eyes. Thank you for letting us find you. From that day on, people slowly changed. The whispers faded. Some offered food. Others offered quiet apologies. And one by one, those who once looked down on Soraya began to look up again, not because of fear, but respect. Not because she returned to battle, but because she built something, stronger than a weapon, a home, a family, and a future.